Hello YouTube. Welcome back to Top 10 channel.
Painting is a historical moderate, dating back to 40,000 decades back when early people employed ochre and charcoal into cave walls to take pictures of creatures or stencils of the handprints. It had been, in other words, present in the birth of a symbolic idea, predating the written word from 35,000 decades or so. Despite the start of the modern age, and the addition of photography, digital and film technologies, painting has turned into a persistent manner of expression, regardless of cyclic pronouncements of its death. It is not possible to mention that just many pictures are limned over heaps of millennia. A rather small fraction of these might be construed as classics which are very recognizable to the general public, and not produced by a number of these most renowned artists ever. That could be saying the obvious. However, it leaves open the question of what combination of genius, talent, and circumstance contributes to the introduction of a masterpiece. We have our view of what constitutes the caliber, and we provide them within our listing of the most magnificent paintings of all time. Number 10, Pablo Picasso, Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, 1907. The canvas of all 20th century artwork, Les Demoiselles d'Avignon ushered in the modern age by decisively breaking with all the typical tradition of Western painting, including allusions into the African masks which Picasso had observed from Paris's Ethnographic Museum in the Palais du Trocadero. Its compositional DNA also comprises El Greco's The Vision of St. John, 1608–14, currently hanging at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The girls being portrayed are now prostitutes at a brothel from the artist's native Barcelona. Number 9, Georges Seurat, A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte, 1884–1886. Georges Seurat's masterpiece, evoking the Paris of La Belle Époque, is depicting a working suburban landscape nicely beyond the town's center. Seurat frequently made this milieu his topic, which differed in the popular portrayals of the Impressionist contemporaries. Seurat abjured the capture-the-moment method of Manet, Monet, and Degas, going instead because of its feeling of timeless permanence located in Greek sculpture. And that's precisely what you get in this frieze-like processional of characters whose insecurities will be in keeping with Seurat's goal of making a classical picture in a contemporary form. Number 8, Hieronymus Bosch, The Garden of Earthly Delights, 1503–1515. This fantastical triptych is usually regarded as a remote forerunner into surrealism. Of the three scenes portrayed, the left panel shows Christ introducing Eve to Adam, while the correct one includes the depredations of hell, not as obvious as if the center panel defines heaven. In Bosch's perfervid vision of hell, a great set of ears hammering a phallic knife strikes the damned. Even though a bird-beaked insect king uses a chamber pot to get a crown, sits on its throne, beating the doomed until immediately defecating them outside again. This riot of symbolism was mostly impervious to interpretation, which might account for its widespread appeal. Number 7, Jan van Eyck, The Arnolfini Portrait, 1434. Among the most important works produced through the Northern Renaissance, this composition is thought to be among the very first paintings executed in oils. A full-size double portrait, it reputedly depicts an Italian retailer and a girl who may or might not be his bride. In 1934, the celebrated art historian Erwin Panofsky suggested the painting is, in fact, a wedding agency. What could be said is that the bit is among the first depictions of an inside utilizing an orthogonal standpoint to create a feeling of distance that looks contiguous using the viewers. It seems just like a painting that you can step into. Number 6, Gustav Klimt, The Kiss, 1907–1908. Opulently gilded and extravagantly patterned, The Kiss, Gustav Klimt's fin de siècle portrayal of closeness, is a combination of symbolism and Vienna Jugendstil, the Austrian variant of Art Nouveau. Klimt depicts his subjects because mythical figures created contemporary by luxuriant surfaces of up-to-the-moment picture topics. The job was a high point of the artist's golden stage between 1899 and 1910 when he used silver foliage, a strategy motivated by a 1903 excursion to the Basilica di San Vitale at Ravenna, Italy, where he watched that the church's most famous Byzantine mosaics. Number 5, James Abbott McNeill Whistler, Arrangement in Gray and Black. Whistler's Mother Nature, or Arrangement in Gray and Black No. 1. Since it is tagged, speaks to this artist's vision to pursue art for art's sake. James Abbott McNeill Whistler painted the job in his London studio in 1871, and in this, the formality of portraiture becomes an article in shape. Whistler's mother, Anna, is envisioned as one of many components secured to an arrangement of appropriate angles. Her acute expression fits in with all the rigidity of this composition, and it is somewhat ironic to remember that despite Whistler's formalist goals, the painting turned into a symbol of motherhood. Number 4. Vincent van Gogh, The Starry Night, 1889. Vincent van Gogh's hottest painting, The Starry Night, was made by Van Gogh in the asylum at Saint Remy, where he had dedicated himself to 1889. The Starry Night appears to reflect his tumultuous frame of mind at the moment, since the night sky comes alive with swirls and orbs of all frenetically implemented brush marks springing in the yin and yang of his private demons and awe of nature. Number 3. Sandro Botticelli, 1484–1486. Botticelli's The Birth of Venus was the first full-scale, non-religious nude since antiquity, and has been created for Lorenzo de' Medici. It is asserted that the amount of the goddess of love is modeled after a Simonetta Cattaneo Vespucci, whose favors have been shared by Lorenzo and his younger brother, Giuliano. Venus is observed being dismissed on a giant clamshell from the end gods Zephyrus and Aura, since the personification of spring strikes on the property using a cloak. Unsurprisingly, Venus drew the ire of Savonarola, the Dominican monk who headed a fundamentalist crackdown about the Florentines' royal preferences. His effort included the notorious Bonfire of the Vanities of 1497, where profane items, makeup, artworks, books were burned on a pyre. Botticelli, however, was freaked out by the episode. He gave up painting for some time. Number 2. Johannes Vermeer, Girl with a Pearl Earring, 1665. Johannes Vermeer's 1665 analysis of a young girl is startlingly genuine and startlingly contemporary, almost like a picture. This gets to the argument over whether Vermeer used a pre-photographic apparatus called a camera obscura to make the picture. He enjoys looking over her shoulder, locking her eyes with all the audience, like trying to set up a romantic relationship over the centuries. Technically speaking, Girl is not a portrait, but instead, a good instance of the Dutch genre referred to as a tronie, a headshot intended more like the life of facial attributes than as an effort to catch a likeness. Number 1. Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa, 1503–19. Painted between 1503 and 1517, Da Vinci's sexy portrait was dogged by two questions because the day it had been created: who is the topic, and why is she smiling? A range of concepts to the former have been proffered over the years: that she is the spouse of the Florentine merchant Francesco di Bartolomeo del Giocondo, ergo, the work's other name, La Gioconda; that she is Leonardo's mother, Caterina, conjured from Leonardo's boyhood memories of her own, and ultimately, that it is a self-portrait in a hall. As for that famous grin, its enigmatic quality has driven people mad for centuries. No matter the reason, Mona Lisa's appearance of preternatural calm comports with the idealized scene behind her, which divides into space through Leonardo's usage of the aerial view.